Welcome to the very first edition of the Bald and Beard Show. I am Justin Couz Walker here with my co-host, The Beard, and we're going to talk about West Virginia Mountaineers football, maybe throw in a little basketball as well, but we're going to mainly talk about in this episode, was the Houston victory for West Virginia the turning point of not only the season, but of the Rich Rod era 2.0 in Morgantown? What is up, and welcome to this edition, again, the initial episode of the Bald and Beard Show. Here with The Beard. How you doing, Beard? What's up, brother?
I'm doing good. Appreciate this collaboration we got the first time out. I know we've been talking about it back and forth for probably over a year now,
Yep.
but here we finally got it together. And two words: we're back.
That's right, baby. We are.
We are back.
We are back. At least it felt that way, at least for a day, right? At least
It
for a
did.
day.
It did. Yeah.
Do you speak? Let's just jump right into it, man.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the turning point? At first, let's start here. Do you think it was a turning point of the season? And do you think for the next, I'm not saying we win out or whatever, which you can talk about that if you want, but do you think we will see a different football team going forward that we saw earlier in the season?
100%, 110%. However high you can go, I think so, especially for the season. And I know it's easy to fall into that because, I always talk about fans wanting that Pat White moment, right? Louisville, but we didn't have a Pat White on the team, or we didn't have the talent surrounding like we did Pat White, right? Because that was 5 years into the program. So he just, and, he'd played some before that. But we just looked like a completely different team. It was like, and I have an episode on this coming out later this afternoon. I talked about it. It was like a different team got off that bus. And I don't know what has happened from Central Florida to TCU to now, but it's like a switch is flipped.
Yeah.
And they were doing things that they couldn't do all season long.
2 weeks ago. They couldn't do it 2 weeks ago.
We were getting push.
Yeah.
I think our pass grade on PFF, I saw, you might have posted it. Somebody did. I saw it circulating around. I mean, some of the guys were in the 80s.
Yeah.
With our pass pro. And it's like, we haven't been doing that all season.
It's tight end, Jacob Barrett, primarily. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what I know of Rich Rodriguez is, and I think he even said this in their post game, like in the locker room and stuff, like, we're not going back. Like, you can't move backwards now. Now that there is a bar has set about what you can achieve, like, and we may take a couple steps back. Like, we're not going to be dominant all the time from here on out. We still got Arizona State on the road, got Texas Tech at home, obviously Colorado coming up. But I don't think you're going to see that team that just couldn't get out of their own way, right? You couldn't get a push. You couldn't even get a yard. I think you're going to see something different. And I think part of that is because the players now see all that stuff Rodriguez is pouring into us, hard edge, playing to the whistle, discipline, the lifestyle that you have to live to be hard edge. Now they're seeing what happens when you do it.
Yep.
And I don't think they're turning back now. I think it'll probably push them even more. I'd like to think so, and I don't think Rodriguez is going to let them fall back anyway.
Yeah. And I was like you. I've been thinking, what in the world happened? It's almost like, and you tell me if you agree with this or not. It's almost like the UCF game. Looking back on it, maybe that was a good thing. Like, maybe they needed to see how bad they were, and be embarrassed, for lack of a better term.
And against a bad team, like,
yeah, right. In order to really flip that switch. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You kind of had to hit rock bottom.
There you go. Rock bottom. That's the way to put it.
Yeah.
And, Coach Rod did say, he said, I hope this is rock bottom.
Right.
But we didn't know for sure, right? Because we're thinking, my gosh. Of course, I didn't think it could get much worse. I don't know that I've ever seen a team play. I don't want to say never. That 2013 team had a game where they looked about that bad too. But yeah, the Maryland game. But
I was
they hadn't looked that. They didn't look that bad multiple games in a row. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was like, man, what in the world's going on here? But I do think that game somehow, some way, may have really been the moment that this team looks and goes, my gosh, we have got to. And I'm sure there were some hard coaching the week after that game. I know Coach Rod maybe mentioned in a presser about money, that they're going to pay guys based on their performance. Maybe that's got some guys, you know, uh, playing a little harder. They also want to put stuff on tape, right, for next year, for
Right.
whether they're transferring or whether they're staying or whether they're trying to go to the next level, whatever they're trying to do. They've got to put stuff on tape. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So somehow, some way, the message got through, and I'm like you. I'm probably cautiously optimistic, I guess would be the best way to put it, about it sticking. But I'm afraid to get my hopes too high, I guess. You know what I mean? So
Oh, yeah.
I want to see what they do. If they go out this week and take care of business against Colorado and win by at least a touchdown. I mean, I'm not expecting them to blow Colorado out, but I think you need to go out and win, at least cover the spread and
Mhm.
win that game. Then I'll feel more confident about okay, now they have turned the corner for sure. And back to what you mentioned earlier, they were doing stuff in that game that they hadn't done. If you had told me that they were going to be able to run the football at will to close out that game, I'd have told you were crazy. But
Right.
that's what they did. They
Yeah.
were able to get push and run the ball and get 3-4 yard chunks, 5 yard chunks, just enough to run clock. And they couldn't have done that 2 weeks earlier.
Right. And they shuffled around some linemen.
Yep.
I think I'm going to butcher his name. Is it McConney?
Caniole.
Right. He wasn't there, was he? He
No,
didn't.
he was listed as out on the availability report.
Yeah. So I think switching some around, and maybe that's just the right mixture of guys in the right spot
Yeah.
that were able to take advantage. And let's be honest here about it. And I've heard this on other podcasts too. Is this wasn't like a Houston team that's a pushover. Now their record may be a little inflated, but 7-1 is still 7-1.
Yep.
And I said this on mine that's going to come out here later this afternoon. My podcast is, I will say to Houston and Willie Fritz what I said about Neil Brown in our 9-4 year, because everyone, easy schedule, easy schedule. It's not the coach's job to make sure the other team is good. It's not
Yep.
the coach's job to make sure the other team is ranked and prepared. It's the coach's job to make sure his team wins the game.
Yep.
And
That's a fair point.
7 out of 8 times up to Saturday, Houston won. So I
Yep.
mean, they are a good team. Are they top 25? Maybe not, but they're still a good team. They have a good defense. They were ranked top 25 in total defense. I think I checked that right before the game, and we offensively we kind of did what we wanted to do. They really didn't have an answer. Now, luckily, we got a lot of turnovers. I think that kind of saved our defense. They kind of did what they wanted to a little bit, but some stats here real quick. I jotted down before we started. So in the last 2 games, Scotty Fox is 41 of 63. So that's 65%, 458 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your difference. That and the O-line, that's your difference maker right there.
Yeah.
You have a guy at the trigger that knows what he's doing.
Yep.
And can execute.
Isn't it amazing how it works when you have a quarterback that is playing mistake-free football and is making good decisions in the RPO game and
Right.
and even just in general, making good decisions. I mean, it's a huge difference. And to you mentioned the O-line. It's funny enough, the PFF grades still were not very good.
Yeah.
And I was actually surprised their pass blocking grades actually came down some.
Yeah.
Towards the middle of the pack on the season, but Scotty did such a good job of getting rid of the football when he was getting pressure. He still didn't get any sacks, and I too, and I use PFF a lot because I do think it's a great barometer, but it's not the end all be all. My eyes tell me that unit played a better football game than they played all year.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, especially in the first half, you saw some of the holes they were opening
Yeah.
for the running backs. I mean, Sincere Bowers' run, I mean, he had a gaping hole to run through.
Right.
And then the pass game, I mean, Scotty, yes, he was getting rid of the ball quick, but there was a couple times he had some time to sit back there and throw the football deep down the field, So, yes, the PFF grades weren't, great by any means, but I'm not blind and I'm not dumb, and I saw an O-line that played had some really good moments in that game and played some much better football down there. They had some lapses too, especially there in the third quarter, but overall, I thought they played a pretty darn good game, and we saw some improvement. And I'm starting to let me ask you this: I'm having second thoughts about Jack Bicknell as the O-line coach now. To be honest with you,
Right.
because I'm thinking, well, we're seeing some improvement. Maybe he just needs better players.
Right.
Maybe at the end of the day, it just boils down to he needs better players.
Yeah.
And if they go out and get better players and keep the guys who are on the roster now, they develop another year. Maybe he's not that bad of a coach after all. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you consider Matt Moore under Neil Brown. I mean, look how bad our O line was that first year in 2019. I don't think
Yeah.
we averaged well under 100 yards a game. I think it was like
Oh yeah, yeah. We had one of the worst rushing offenses in the country that year.
like 75 yards a game, something like
Yeah.
that. But as you start to get pieces, right? You got
Mhm.
Zach Frazier at center. You got Doug Nestor there, Tomas Remack, Wyatt Milam. You started getting pieces.
Mhm.
We had the best rushing attack in the country in what 2023, or we were like
Yeah,
fourth
I think it was
overall.
23. Yeah, as far as
We were
yards
best
per
in the Big
game or
12.
yards per
I mean,
carry or whatever. Yeah.
it's amazing how good players make coaches look good. Uh, but yeah, I think maybe we should pause the getting rid of him. Um, I know that was a popular topic of conversation. I even said it. I was like,
I
man,
did
he's
too.
probably the first assistant to go because that is really disrupting our offense, not being able to block or push or anything. But you find the right combination of guys, and I'll give the credit to the entire coaching staff on Saturday as well. As when coming into the year, Scotty Fox was what, third, fourth string. Dior Hubbard was third or fourth
Mhm.
string. Give or take. I know they're
Yeah.
listed all as oars, but they didn't start, right? And they weren't your second option either. At some point, so they're taking these young guys and mixing and matching whatever they have to do, and they had a heck of a game plan and it worked. So I to answer your question, I think we probably put a pin in that and see how the rest of the season plays out. Because
Yep.
if we continue to play the last three games like we did against Houston, I mean, there's a chance we could still go bowling. I mean, and what a rewrite of the season that
Yeah, yeah. I said that on my last show, and I said I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but
yeah,
there's still it's a very long shot, and they got to play. I mean, they got to pull off two major upsets to do it,
right,
but there's still hope out there, and I don't think Rich Rod's given up on that. I mean, he said it a couple weeks ago. We can still get bowl eligible here.
right.
His mindset, man. He's so freaking competitive. Like he just
And he doesn't turn it off.
no,
It's 24 hours a day. That's who
no.
that man is.
And I just think, and I know sometimes he comes across as gruff and hard on his guys, and he is at times. But I don't think what we understand, and I've heard some of his former players talk about this. He still loves his players up, man.
Mm-hmm.
You don't necessarily see it in public, but behind the scenes, he loves his players. He does those fireside chats with them to get to know them better.
Right,
Um, he is a player. He's hard. He's a hard coach, but I think he is a bit of a player's coach. Like,
right,
he never throws them under the bus in press conferences. He'll always take either the blame on himself or he might talk about a group not playing well, but he'll never throw an individual player under the bus.
right,
Even if they ask about him, media asks, and he'll kind of reframe it in a way, his answer to where he's not. He's very good about that, and I'm sure players appreciate that, right?
right.
So, but it's just a breath of fresh air to have that mindset and that drive that he has leading that program now again. I
Yeah,
think we missed it a little. Not saying Neil Brown didn't want to win, you know what I'm saying?
right.
It's just a different level of it, if that makes sense.
And that's the competitiveness you need at this P4 level. And
Mhm.
I said this before about Neil Brown. I still think he's a good coach. I think he has a good offensive mind. I think he understands. I think what lacked with him was that X factor of just pushing the limit every time you snap the ball.
Yeah.
Like, right, going to the extreme. And I think that's what Rich Rod brings. And that is the difference of why Neil Brown was successful at the G6 level or G5 at that time, right? However many 30 some wins in 3 years, and then why he couldn't get it done at the Power 4 level, because you need that extra gear. That's the difference in that level and the G5 level. Because
Mhm.
when you get up here, the margin for error is slimmer because everybody's talented,
Yep.
right? Everyone's got, all Americans or all conference players on their team. It's what is the difference maker?
Yep.
And I think that physicality, that mentality that Rich Rod brings, that's the difference maker. That's
Yep.
going to turn, your C grade player into a B, or you know what I mean? It's going
Yeah.
to make them play beyond what their talent level is on paper.
Right.
But I wanted to touch on this real quick, going back to him being like a player's coach and stuff. I heard this quote, and I think it might have been Coach Hunter on like the Sports Line or something like that. I think that's where I heard it. And somebody had texted in or called in and said that Rodriguez said before his previous tenure that basically when a team isn't as talented but works really hard, and you can tell that they work hard, but they just don't have that talent,
Mhm.
you love on them, right? You encourage them, you lift them up. But when there's a team that's talented and they're not playing at their potential, that's when you get on them.
Yeah.
And I think at this point is where you're probably going to see a switch in Rodriguez, because I think he loved up the players early.
Yeah.
Because he always talks about it, it's like they still work hard.
Right.
He never said that they're loafing. He said this is a hard working team.
Other than the UCF game.
Right.
That's when that's what shocked everybody. It was like, man, they weren't even hustling. What's
Right.
up?
And
And
that's
we
probably
were all worried about it.
that's probably when he jumped on him. And I bet that was a
Yeah.
hard week of practice.
I bet it was
He
too.
probably knew that they have better or more talent in them than what they showed.
Yep.
And so I think that's kind of the switch that's going to flip now is now he sees what they can accomplish. They see what they can accomplish. So now he's probably going to ride him a little bit harder. Like, I've seen what you can do. So if you don't live up to that every day, then, you're probably going to be gone next year.
Yeah.
And,
You got to raise the bar.
right.
You can't sit on your laurels. You got to raise it. Now, I mean, this is now, like you mentioned earlier, post game, the clip they showed from his post game speech. This is our expectations now.
Right.
Is to win and to play West Virginia football. He's always thrown that West Virginia football thing, which I love. And I love at the end. Did you notice how they finished it? He said, so every team we play is going to feel, and the whole team at once said West Virginia football.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you can tell that it's almost like it's gelling, man. It's almost like, it's like watching a group of, and they were attentive to everything he said. I heard some of them say, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like watching a drill sergeant or a platoon leader, whatever you want to call it,
Right.
in front of his men. And they respect him.
They were all ears.
And they're all ears, and they're hanging on every word he says. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. And you could tell, because I mean, these guys could easily just give up. Being 2-6, you're going on the road playing a ranked team. You could easily just mail it in and be like, well, we're not going to get this one. But they haven't stopped. They didn't stop. They didn't quit. They kept grinding. And, and to get back to the original point of all this is this the turning point? And there's a lot of like markers that make me feel that way. And one of them is the fact that we've never given up. Right. And you can finally see that all that hard work finally paid off, and we definitely took a next step. And like I said, I don't think Rodriguez is going to let him take a step back either now.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I got to give a shout out. I guess it was either Tony or Brad, one of the Three Guys podcast, made a great point. And we're talking about a team that's loaded with a bunch of transfer 1-year seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys could easily pack it in, especially the one.
Right.
There are a lot of guys on that team who aren't going to play at the next level. And in their mind, they could be like, you know what else do I have to play for? But they're still giving every ounce that they have to the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows you they're bought in. That shows you they are taking pride in what they do. They're there for their teammates, and they believe in whatever Rich Rod is, whatever he's selling. They're buying it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to tell you, go ahead. I forgot to give you a chance to plug your show, so go ahead and do that while you're talking.
Oh yeah. So you can catch me on YouTube. It's the Trust the Beard podcast. Also on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and X at Earbeard. That's EERBEARD. Another thing I want to plug real quick is I started another Twitter page or X page called Beardology. BEARDOLOGI. So that's kind of, I'm a real numbers nerd when it comes to football. So I kind of created my own rating system and all that stuff. So I, instead of clogging up my beard profile with that, I kind of moved that over to the Beardology one. So check that out. I pick all college games every week. There's usually like 50 some. I'm about a 77% success rate on that, just all based on my rating system.
Awesome.
And there's no spreads. It's all like basically like money line picks, like basically who's going to win the game.
Gotcha.
I'm not sophisticated enough for spreads. I don't get into that too much, but yeah, you can find me there, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So
awesome. Yeah, go check him out. He does great work. Speaking of spreads, that's a great segue into my ad read I have to do. So if you'll be patient with me for about a minute and a half.
Yeah, sure.
We got to pay the bills. Your season, your shot. The NFL season is rolling, and every touchdown can bring you closer to a payout with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. From first touchdown scorer to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, every snap is loaded with opportunity. New customers, this one is for you. Bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, score over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code COUZ. That's code COUZ to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you place your first $5 bet. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday Ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Additional NFL Sunday Ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday Ticket/terms. Limited time offer. All right. Thank you for your patience there, Beard, and also to the audience for those listening and watching. And thanks to DraftKings for supporting what we do. Let's switch gears a second and let's talk about the quarterback position.
Okay.
I had been a couple weeks ago, I was under the mindset that they need to go out in the offseason and still get a really good quarterback. Like if you can afford him, get a starter caliber quarterback. I'm starting to waver on that now and come back down and say maybe Scotty Fox is the guy. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think moving forward he is. You probably still go into the portal, because guys get hurt. You need backups.
Mm-hmm.
To get solid backups, but maybe you're not looking for that starter. Maybe you're looking for someone, who's a little bit cheaper to be a backup, but can hopefully have some of the same skill set that Scotty Fox has, right?
And push him. You want him to push him a little bit, right?
Right. Obviously, you want him to be mobile and stuff like that because that's all part of the offensive scheme. But I think you have your guy, and the fact that he's a freshman and he's playing as well as he has the last two games, I mean, at this point, I think it's a godsend almost because you don't have to go and pay somebody to come in because to me that probably costs more money than retaining somebody that you already have. And being such a young guy, you can mold him into whatever you need at this point, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have to break a lot of bad habits that he may have had at 2 or 3 other programs, things like that. Like you have your guy for the future, I believe. Now we'll see these last 3 games, but from what I've seen the last 2 games, and I meant to mention this before, is in that Houston game, you didn't really see a throw, and I'll kind of credit Brad Howe and the 3 guys. You didn't really see a throw that you were like, ooh, he probably shouldn't have thrown that. He took care of the ball. And if our guy wasn't going to get it, nobody was going to get it.
Right.
And so to answer your question, I think moving forward, he is your front runner.
Yeah. For sure. And I think the fact that they can spend their money now on the offensive line, the defense, because they're losing a ton of players on defense.
Yeah.
You build the defense back up. You get more pieces on the O-line. Hopefully, guys who were able to come in and contribute right away, or at least be solid backups. If you think you've got starter caliber O-linemen already on the team, you build that unit up, build your defensive line up, add a couple more pieces at wide receiver, maybe another running back or two, and you don't have to worry about your quarterback, which is the most expensive position, right?
Right.
You can get better use of your money that way.
Yeah.
And it gives you the freedom to go out and get a guy like a Kevin Brown, for example, who's West Virginia's recruiting, who's the Penn State commit that everybody's heard about, I'm sure by now, who they're going hard after, who's word on the street is he's demanding pretty close to 7 figures, right, to get him. I don't want to say he's demanding. That's what the rate is for him.
Right.
Not like he's demanding, well, you got to give me this. I'm just saying that's what other teams, that's where you need to be if you want to be competitive.
That's what they're willing to spend.
Correct.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. I wanted to rephrase that to make sure I don't want to paint him in a negative light at all. But that's the going rate is, from what I've heard, is somewhere between the $700,000 and $900,000 range. And if you got to go out and spend $1 million on a quarterback, it might be tough to get a guy like that. You know what I'm saying? Who, in my opinion, is a difference maker on the offensive line. Might be your next Zach Frazier or Wyatt Milam type guy.
Right.
So I'm with you. I think after what now, I could change my mind next week if he goes out and plays terrible. Because I'm fickle. I'm a fan, right? Just like everybody else.
It's week to week, yeah.
Exactly. But back to your point earlier, I do think there'll be ups and downs, not only with him but for this team. Even though I'm with you, and I do think they have now turned the corner. I don't want to act like they're perfect and they've arrived, because they haven't. There's a lot of things they still need to fix. A lot of things that are still work in progress. What are your thoughts on the way the defense played last week? Let's talk about that for a minute, because I was a little shocked that they still gave up a bunch of big plays in that game.
Yeah, I mean, it's concerning for sure how many yards and points we gave up. But again, I kind of come back to, Zac Alley's mentality is turnovers, pressure and turnovers. That's what he preaches. And we have done that consistently.
That's true.
But
turnovers for sure.
Right. But on the other hand, is you can't always rely on getting like 4 turnovers. All right. You can't rely always on did Houston, did they muff a punt? Is that what it was and we recovered it? Or what? There was a
yes.
over.
Well, they hit their guy in the back.
Right. You can't always rely on that. I mean, but we were there to get it, and I know consistently through the season we have forced turnovers, whether we or at least forced fumbles, whether we recovered them or not. And so I think that's going to be a staple moving forward. And it probably has to be if you're going to be giving up that kind of yards and points. So it's a bit concerning. So I'd say moving into the offseason, certainly your O-line and probably your secondary and probably the D-line as well are going to be your main concerns. Linebacker, I know Chase Wilson's he's on a 1-year rental this year, right? I don't think he has more eligibility.
And Carrico's done too.
Carrico's done. I don't know the market that well, but I feel like that's a position you can plug in a lot of guys and get similar results. I really think it's the D line in the back end that you need to focus on, and so overall I give our defense. I don't know. It's hard to say. I'd probably like a C grade because F for coverage, but A or B for like how they force turnovers. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
they did stop the run. I mean, they held them to under 90 yards rushing.
Right. It kind of balances itself out. And I think, again, with Rich Rod's offense, just like Zac Alley's defense, is you're going to get more dudes. And you're going to get guys that have been through, the ringer for a year. They understand what they're supposed to do. And I think hopefully that's going to, push us to another level defensively. But I think you still hold on to Alley for sure. I think you don't let him go. I don't think it's a matter of like
absolutely
what's his face Jordan Leslie, where it's like you're consistently just giving up big play after big play. There's no adjustments. We've seen adjustments with the defense. We've seen them play at a very high level despite giving up a lot of points. But you think about the opponents we had to start the Big 12 season. 3 of them are in the top 5 or something like that. You had
Yeah,
BYU,
and
uh,
Utah.
Utah, and I don't know about TCU at this point. I haven't looked at the ranking or the standings overall, but that's definitely three of your top half teams and
Yep.
some very efficient offenses at that too.
And the Kansas game was kind of a bad spot coming off the big emotional Pitt win.
Right.
Ty Edwards was out and we weren't expecting him to be.
Right. And they
That
still
was
have a really good offense. I mean,
yeah,
despite
yeah,
their woes this season, they're still
yeah.
really. You still got Daniels at under center there, so he's going to make you pay with his legs and his arms. So, I mean, we've had a hard schedule for sure up to this point. So I kind of factored that in, but overall, I like what our defense has done, considering what we went through the last 6 years of being in the negative with turnover margin.
Yeah, yeah.
Now we're in
It
the
was
positive, and
brutal.
that makes a huge difference.
Yep. Like I said in a couple of my shows, when you have, and we saw this some with Tony Gibson when he was DC. There were some games we'd be like, my gosh, how many pass plays are we going to give up? But then boom, you'd get 4 or 5 sacks, you'd get 2 picks, and then next thing you know, you win the game.
Right.
But
Yeah.
because he was more aggressive. And anytime you're that aggressive, you're obviously going to give up. It's like in basketball when you full court press, right? They're going to break that press occasion. When they do, they're going to get points out of it most of the time because they're wide open on the other end of the court. But if the pressure creates enough turnovers, it offsets that and
Right.
even overrides it to a degree. And it's still a worthwhile thing to do. And I think that's just maybe it might just be the type of defense he's playing. I'm not saying you should give up the amount of big plays they are, and obviously the tackling has been somewhat of an issue. But I feel like they'll clean all that up. I mean, again, it all comes down to getting the right guys in there, get more athleticism at multiple positions, especially maybe some more speed at the linebacker spot, some more athleticism up front.
I mean, you imagine if you had like a Pac-Man
Oh
general.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I mean, you get a guy like that. Now, not saying we're going to go grab one because he's that's a high caliber NFL talent there, but
right,
someone similar. And also I think moving forward too is you have to understand with our defense, the offense wasn't helping them out at all.
right.
When you're only scoring 10, 17, 14 points and you're getting 3 and outs and you're not getting any push, right? You're leaving your defense out there, pretty vulnerable. Like
Mm-hmm.
they have to win the game for you now.
Yep,
Like you're
and that
not
puts more pressure on them mentally.
exactly. And so I think moving forward, if our offense continues to play like they did against Houston and somewhat against TCU, being able to move the ball, even if it's flipping the field, right? Even if you don't get anything, if you're putting their offense back on their 20 or 25, it's a whole hell of a lot different than them getting it on the 40 or 50 or
Mm-hmm.
even in your territory, So
Yep.
little things like that are going to make a huge difference with this or with the defense.
Yep. Let's switch to offense for a minute. What I don't think that running back room has gotten enough love. I mean, obviously, Dior Hubbard had a 100-yard day. Sincere Bowers had a good day. Even Clay Ash had a couple of nice runs.
Mm-hmm.
And all 3 of those guys are sophomores and freshmen or freshmen.
Yeah.
If you bring all 3 of those guys back and Jaheim White comes back, which you can expect he probably will, I think we have a solid running back room. Now, you may want to go out and get maybe Tyler Jacklich stays and he develops. Maybe they go out and will get a big back, to be the what Ty Edwards was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm pretty happy with this running back room. What do you think?
Yeah. They got a lot of speed. And I know that's what Rodriguez wanted.
Mhm.
He said that in the beginning, like preseason, we need to get more speed. And it looks like when they have the holes to run through and they have, the O-line creating those holes, like it's so much easier for them to do what they need to do. And I think a lot of that early on is there was just nothing there for them to go through. And then I also wonder, not that Nico's probably not going to be around anymore, but I wonder how he would have fared had you had this version of the O-line. He may have been a little bit better.
Maybe.
Not to skip over on the quarterback, but
No,
that running back room is going to be pretty stout, I think. This is all. Well, I should say this. This is all with the caveat that we continue to perform like we did against Houston and TCU.
correct.
Like if that's the standard now, or at least somewhat close to it.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, it's going to be a serious running back room, I think. And while you were talking in my head, I'm like, you have Scotty Fox, you have Jaheim White, you have Hubbard, you have Cam Vaughn. All what, freshmen, sophomores?
Yep.
Does that ring a bell of like Pat White, Steve Slayton, Noel Devine, and Darius Raynaud? You know,
A little bit.
maybe
Little
a different version, right? It's not the exact same, but it rhymes. You know, you got
Yeah.
four guys that can make plays, and I'm so
Uh-huh.
glad that we're getting Vaughn into the game now. I think that's made a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, he only had one catch, but it was a big one. And they did target him several times, though. They just wasn't
Yeah.
able to. Teams are folks. I mean, it's harder to get him the ball now because teams are double teaming him a lot. I mean, he's basically having to go up and make plays. I mean, they're just chunking it to him, like
Mm-hmm.
even when he's covered.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you have a guy that you can just chunk it up to, even if he's covered, you know you've got a pretty freaking good receiver, right? Because how often are our quarterbacks confident enough to do that? Not very often.
Yeah. Only if you know that's the guy that can go up and get it. Right.
And very rarely, even if he doesn't get it, the other guy normally doesn't either.
Right.
Right. So you can kind of trust he's going to make the right play either way. And that touchdown catch he made, by the way, I don't know how many people realize he caught that with one hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like right
And,
with
had a guy draped all over him.
he just he just kind of
Yeah.
That was
and no flag, by the way, which is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that might be another podcast. And I didn't
Good
get to
grief.
see a lot of the second half. I was traveling to my nephew's youth football game, but I got to listen to it, Tony on the radio,
Mhm.
and so I didn't get to visualize any of the pass interference calls. But I went back and looked at them. Yeah, those were bad. And I know when Tony's yelling at the ref, you know it's pretty bad because he's not typically like that. You know, and that's just another obstacle that we had to overcome.
Yep.
And I think that says a lot about our team.
Yeah, apparently it was the back judge that was the issue. Like he made 2 or 3 really questionable calls and then wasn't calling anything the other way. Like it was, from my understanding, it was really just one guy that was messing everything up for us.
Yeah, I heard that, and I think I forget where I heard that too. But they said on TV you could see Rodriguez screaming like that's three
Yeah.
in a row, or that's 3 now.
You could. He went up to the side judge on his side and even held up 3 fingers. He said, "That's 3."
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's you've screwed me 3 times, or that's 3 that you owe me, or I don't whatever he was saying there. But he was not right. He was not wrong either,
yeah.
and they were pretty obvious.
And there was a few that they missed on ours. I mean, I remember one particular in the first half. I think the guy actually had his arm on, I think it was Vaughn, and kind of like almost turned him around, and they just never did anything. So
There was one on Gallagher too that was pretty blatant, and there was a couple holds that were, I mean, like happened right in front of the official, right where the camera was zooming in on a replay.
Yeah,
and I'm like, they were running around the outside, and they had their tackle grabbed our guy around the top of his jersey and was pulling on his jersey like this so he couldn't pull away and make the tackle. No call.
Yeah.
It happened at least 2 times I know of, and I think it happened more than that. And I don't think they got one holding call the whole game against them.
No, I don't think so.
It's baffling.
And I'll tell you what, though, this is kind of a sidebar of the conversation. I feel like that's been a real issue, college and professional, is referees. And I don't know if maybe they're putting way too much on their plate with review and all that stuff. But I feel like this year and more than any, you're seeing so many more missed calls. And of course, people, the first thing they're going to go to is that it's fixed, right? The fix is in. They got to keep the spread because everyone's betting now, things like that. But I don't remember a season in all across college football and NFL where there's so many more complaints. Maybe we're just more aware of it, right? There's more cameras, you got social media, things like that. But it definitely seems to stand out this year more than others.
Yep, for sure. Any other takeaways you want to talk about before we call it a day here?
No, I just think what I would tell Mountaineer fans is be cautiously optimistic. Although, me being a lifelong fan, I started the show saying we're back.
Yeah.
I hope so. I don't want to be wrong about that.
Yeah.
But I want to emphasize again that I truly believe that whether we win another game this season or not, you will not see what you saw against Utah, Kansas, BYU,
UCF,
Central Florida. I don't think you are going to see that team again. Again, I don't think Rodriguez is going to allow them to do that, and if they do, they'll probably be running Law School Hill all practice long.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say that to fans, like, be optimistic about it. And again, we may not win, but you're not going to see that team again.
Yeah,
I think you're going to see more the TCU Houston. I definitely think this is what we've been waiting for. And I said this in my podcast, is like, all you young lads that keep hearing all us millennials and Gen X and boomers, complain about Holgerson and Neil Brown and what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. And, the bar that we've set for this program, there's a reason for it, because Rodriguez set that bar. We know it can be done. And so all this season, we're like, just give it time. Give it time. And I know we want to complain and say that we've never seen an offense this bad, which I haven't. It was pretty brutal at times. What you saw at Houston is what we've been waiting for, because we knew that there was going to be a switch, right? It was going to flip and everything was going to gel and come together. Mm-hmm. Rodriguez even said it, like, I know what I'm doing, right? And so it just took a matter of time before it all came together. And hopefully it looks like it finally has. Again,
hopefully
expect to win every week now. But I said on my podcast, after that Louisville game, that's kind of when it all came together.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the time Rodriguez was there, I think we only lost 3 games. If I remember, I didn't look it up, but I think it was like we lost to Louisville the next year, South Florida, and
the game we won't mention.
I mentioned it.
The 13-9 game, yeah.
It's 9-13 now. We got.
It's funny how that game changed my entire outlook on. It's like I don't mind talking about that game. I mean, I talked about it anyway, just because I do a podcast and I kind of have to, but
right.
At times, but like I don't, when I hear about it now or see it now, I don't cringe anymore. I don't, because I feel like that ship has been righted now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the good thing about it is, I hate to see Pitt do well, but they have a pretty good team. I mean, they very well could play for the ACC title, and so the fact that we could be the one thorn in their side, the one for the season is pretty satisfactory. I don't think it'll ever live up to 13-9, because that kept us out of a national title.
No, it's not. But it definitely felt pretty darn good.
Oh yeah, and that was one of those things. And I'll mention this real quick before we go. I know I keep rambling on.
It's okay.
We thought Pitt might have been the turning point of the season, but I think that was kind of a standalone performance, right? There was a lot of.
It was an outlier, yeah.
Right. There was a lot of backstory to it. Right, a redemption game for Rich Rod. It's your rivalry. It's under the lights. 9-13, 13-9, all that stuff. I think we played above our level, so we at least showed that it could be done.
And to be honest, Pitt made some blunders down the stretch too that helped us.
Yeah, they did. They certainly did. And so the stars kind of aligned for that night. And then reality hit the next 5 weeks.
Yeah,
but I truly think that this is the turning point, because one of the reasons I believe that is this is almost a completely different team than what started at the beginning of the season, at least offensively. Like I said, you got your second, third, fourth string guys out there and went on the road and won.
Yeah, and I hate to jinx it, but the way they're taking care of the football.
Yeah, that's huge.
Now they'll probably go out and fumble it 3 times next week because I opened my big fat trap.
Yeah.
But it's just I'm just they played with more discipline. You didn't see as many stupid penalties.
Yeah.
I mean, you had a couple, but I mean nothing. And honestly, some of the penalties they called I thought were stupid, bogus. But I mean, after the first drive, I went, this is not the same football team I've been watching for the last 5 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, and then they did it again. I thought, okay, hopefully this is not a fluke, because we saw Neil Brown's teams do that almost every single week, right? They go down, score on the scripted drive, and then boom, the rest of the game they got blown out. But boom, lo and behold, they do it twice. And I'm like, okay, now we're on to something here.
Yeah.
Even in halftime when it was tied at 21, I was like, well, it was too good to be true.
Right.
And boom, they win the game. And I'm like, wow, okay. Maybe I was underestimating this team.
Because I think, did we pick them off their first possession of the second half? Because I remember I had to go, it was halftime, I had to go get a bunch of stuff ready.
I know we picked them off twice. I don't remember when the first one happened. It was Derek Carter out. It was Michael Coates went up and batted the ball away, and it went right, and he accidentally kicked it with his foot. I don't know, maybe he did it on purpose, but I doubt it. And it bounced right into the arms of Derek Carter. I shouldn't say right into the arms. He saw it and ran over there and grabbed it. But there was some luck involved as well.
Possession, because when I got back, I turned the TV back on. It was 24-21, and I knew we didn't get the first possession.
Yeah, I think we did, and then we came down and kicked it, and that was when Hensley kicked that 50-yard field goal, which was, I think, a career high for him, which was pretty cool. And then, so I mean, everything, some of that, some things were just going right in that game. Finally, other than some of the calls, the ball was bouncing West Virginia's way. Some, they got a couple lucky breaks, which does, but that usually happens when you're playing hard, right? And you're doing things the right way. You're in the right position.
The ball bounces your way. Yeah,
you create your own luck at times, and I think this team's starting to do that now.
Yeah, and I'll close out with one last thing. Promise. I heard on Three Guys. Tony had mentioned it in the post-game pressers, and I think it was Dior Hubbard had said all week long, Rodriguez and the coaches were just banging their heads about physicality, like be physical. And then who was the one that picked that off the pick six?
Jordan Scruggs.
He said that Zac Alley audibled into that call.
Yep.
Because he knew what was coming. They saw the formation, and Scruggs knew what they were trying to do, and he jumped the route. And to me, I meant to mention that when I was talking about Zac Alley and the defense. I was like, that's why you hold on to that guy. You may give up some yards and some points, but I think he is the defensive equivalent to Rich Rodriguez.
I do too. I still think he's a great DC. He just hasn't had. He needs more time to implement the system because his system's a little bit complicated, right?
Yeah.
And you got to have really smart players, and you got to have players that have been there a little bit of time and starting to figure things out. And I think we're starting to see that some. Again, big plays happened. Yes, I get it. There are things they got to work on, but I think we're starting to see both sides of the ball finally start to gel a little bit at the same time. And heck, even special teams, like finally kicking the ball into the end zone. I mean, that's something small, but it matters.
Right. And I also wonder if, that conditioning that Rich Rodriguez always implements is you're in November, you're in the final stretch. Maybe these teams are a little beat up and tired, and we're not as much, right?
Right.
And so we're just starting to take advantage of that as well. I think all of that stuff kind of came together in one moment.
Yep. Agreed. All right. One last time, man. Shout out your stuff.
Yeah. So you can find my podcast. It's Trust the Beard Podcast on YouTube. It's also on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Just search Trust the Beard. And then, of course, on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and X. Follow me at Earbeard, EERBEARD. And also check out my new Twitter page, X page. I still say Twitter. Beardology, BEARDOLOGI. Not Y, because that was taken. So I had to do something a little bit different. And so, that's a lot of just college football picks, money line bets, things like that. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and he goes deep dive into some numbers over on his show and even on the Beardology page. So go check him out. He does a great job breaking things down. Even created his own beard rating index.
Yep.
So if you're a numbers guy like him, and I am to a degree, but not to the same degree you are. But if you're a numbers guy or a numbers gal, I should say, as well, go check out his show. You'll love it, and you'll get a lot out of it. So anyway, thanks for coming on. I hope we're going to try our best to do this. May not be able to do it every Monday, but we're going to try to do this most Mondays of the week.
Yep.
And he and I kind of get together, and it's just going to be a very informal back and forth conversation about West Virginia football and West Virginia sports in general once basketball season kicks off. I'm sure we'll throw some of that in as well. But anyway, Beard, thanks for joining me, brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to doing this more. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in, whether you're listening on podcast, whether you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube. Thanks to our sponsors, Appalachia Digital. If you want a website design, go check them out. Couz, or at appalachiadigital.com/Couz. Also, thanks again to DraftKings Sportsbook, your sports betting partner of the NFL. We appreciate you tuning in. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf and Q Country Roads.